Are you wondering if a work breakdown structure can help your next project? Or maybe you just want to get more organized and think this can help, and it can. Or maybe you just wonder what it is because someone brought it up at work. Well, today I'm going to tell you all about it on ProjectSkillsMentor.com. Well, hi, I'm Liz. I am the Project Skills Mentor, and today we're talking work breakdown structure. What it is, how to use it. I'm going to give you a free tool, and I'm going to tell you when not to use it. This series is part of my project management fundamentals, and it's near and dear to my heart to teach others about project management. Project management has been a great career for me, and now I want to give back to you. I give you free tools, insights, information, and more on my website. I talk about projects, teams, mentorship, user experience, and storytelling. All tools every project manager, or dare I say leader, needs. So what is a work breakdown structure? Well, let's break it down. Sometimes work breakdown structures look like this, and sometimes they look much more simple like this, and sometimes they look totally different like this. What is a work breakdown structure? Well, the first word, work, means task. Work is often segregated by discrete tasks or operations, often by time, such as 8 or 40 hours of work, or by the person who needs to do it. This is a technical piece of work. This is a functional piece of work. The next is structure. It's organized, and a lot of people use the PMBOK, or the Project Management Body of Knowledge made by PMI, as a way of creating these phases. Now, I'll get more into that in a minute, but let me just tell you what the phases are. They are initiate, plan, execute, control, and monitor, and close. So when is the best time to use work breakdown structure? When your project is completely known in advance, when it's fixed price, and so you've got to complete something within a certain time, price, and scope. That is an obvious one for work breakdown structure because it is so structured. Another reason to use work breakdown structure or waterfall is when you have regulatory concerns, often sometimes known as stage gates. These are really important for projects that are either large, complicated, expensive, or have regulatory requirements. And let's face it, there are some industries where work breakdown structure is simply the standard, so you need to know to use it. Now, first I'm going to show you a really simple work breakdown structure, which is here. So you can see it has all the elements. It has linear work timed by tasks, and it shows who's going to do the work. So in this very simple model, you can see scope, time, and even some quality statements in that risk part. This is a very simple way of planning almost anything. This work breakdown structure is far more complex, and that's how projects are often using work breakdown structure in this much more complex model. That's often done in either something like MS Project or Excel, but it can also be used in any one of the online tools that are available today. And in fact, if you're wondering about online tools that use work breakdown structure, check out my video on that here. So let me tell you first about this tool that I'm going to share with you. It's called the Project Management Workbook. And in that, I've got everything from beginning to close of your project, plus an Excel spreadsheet that gives you budget information, staff planning, how to calculate your earned value, which is something related to all of these attributes you're putting into your work breakdown structure, and it gives you a sample work breakdown structure. So with all of that, let me take you through these 12 attributes you need to know about related to a detailed and complex work breakdown structure. You need to set up your phases, and it can be those 5 I showed you earlier, but it could also be much more detailed. Phases could be initiate, define, and plan, build, test, close, monitor and control, and something called project office, which is where you put communications, budget control, management, and so on. You also need milestones. These often relate to the phases, but it's actually not a task in itself. It's a moment in time when a work package can be called complete. That's when the right scope and quality is present in that work package. You also want each task to be named clearly, so it's obvious what it's doing, and you want to put in the effort. And that's what I mentioned earlier about the amount of hours it would take. Now, often that's done by the project manager, but it also could be what's called a subject matter expert, or better yet, the person who's going to do the work. This helps you really get a good sense of estimating how much time will it take. And one of the ways you do that is through a start and end date. Set something up for the month of March. Start it on the 1st and end it on the 30th. But you also have a lapse time. A lapse time will tell you, did that task take 40 hours or 8 hours? Maybe there's a lot of wait or queue time in between. So you might want to document your start, your end, and your total elapsed time expected. The next point is dependencies. Tasks are not standalone moments. They are part of a project, which means something might have to be done before, or something might only start after that task is complete. Noting the dependencies is really important. Next, assigning the staff or the individual role. A staff is a named person, and the role might be a technical person or a functional person. Another thing big projects might want to mention is the task owner. That's not necessarily who's doing it. That could be a lead, the project manager, or someone else. This is the person responsible for the outcome of that work. At the end, you end up with a critical path. What is a critical path? It's essentially that line through the entire process you're building that creates your timeline. I actually have a whole blog on CPM that helps you understand this critical path even more. And as you're moving through this in your monitoring and control phase, you might also add this, the percentage complete. This helps when you're looking at budget, usage, how much money you've spent on the project, against how much work's been done. And there's a whole process of calculation about earned value that PMI/PMBOK talks about that is really important to a lot of projects. So how to use a work breakdown structure? Well, generally you create a version 1, which is the approved version based on the budget, the time, etc. Next, you'll start your project. And as you start your project, you'll enter that component I talked about earlier. Each week or every other week, you'll put in an estimation of the work complete. It's really easy to tell if a task is 100% or 0%. It often takes judgment to figure out if it's 50 or 70. But once you've figured that out, you can go through your budgets and make sure is your spending in parallel with your rate of completion. That's really important to make sure you don't run out of money before you're done with all of your tasks. So when is waterfall maybe not the right decision? Well, the obvious answer is when Agile is a better decision. And when is that? Let me show you this chart. The differences are pretty big between work breakdown and structure and Agile, and I'll just touch on 3 or 4. First of all, the teams work differently. Agile is self-directed. Work breakdown structure tends to be much more hierarchical because it needs to be. It's got that regulatory requirement or a fixed price, or the product is known at the beginning and it's just a matter of executing. So the teams work differently. The projects work differently. This linear form of project management works great for so many types of projects. But if you're designing something on the fly where the end state isn't known, Agile is maybe a better choice for you. And lastly, the amount of customer involvement. In Agile, customer involvement is every day, all the time. And in work breakdown structure processes, it's pretty much in the initiate phase and in the test cycle. So that's it. Check out my blog if you want more details, and check out my Project Management Fundamental series if you want to learn more about the whole concept of project management and how to run a project. I hope you found this information helpful, and I hope to see you next time on ProjectSkillsMentor.com. Bye-bye, everybody.